Charlie's powerful speech really opened my eyes. The first thing that caught my attention was when he said he wanted to help all black and white. Although he did not list every ethnic group, I took this as equality. Equality has and seems to always be an issue in our society. There's issues with African Americans not feeling equal, females not being treated equal, just the LGBTQ, all of those minority groups feeling like they're not equal, or basically anybody not feeling equal. Although, I think that we all need to put these things aside and start accepting people for who they are and how they are. And I feel like that would make our society function a whole lot better if we would start accepting people and letting them be themselves and not have to feel like they need to conform to a certain thing and be the average Joe. There's many obstacles that can cause some big issues in our society. The first of those being greed. Charlie talked about greed in his thing and talked about it being in his speech, and it talked about it being an obstacle. Greed has been instilled in us in our nature since the beginning of time, and there seems to be no stopping it. People are always trying to chase the bigger, better buck, trying to make more money. After they make a little bit of money, they try to make more and more and more. But the phrase "money can't buy happiness" tends to circulate around a lot. And as sad as it sounds, in a way it can. Money can buy happiness. Just people that seem to have more money seem to live a more comfortable, more happy life because they don't have to worry about making ends meet, making their bills, making their car payment, paying for their kids' school, making sure their kids can eat. It's the people that have a lower income or poverty level that they don't have that, say, quote unquote happiness, and they don't seem as happy because they have to struggle to make ends meet. Sometimes they can't make ends meet. Sometimes they can't feed their kids. Or sometimes they miss a meal, and that's just really hard on a person because they see that people are making more money, and then they're like, oh, I need to be like them, and greed can be a bad thing. And it can also cause another obstacle that tends to really get in the way, and that's hate. While greed doesn't cause hate, it can be a serious factor into hate because, again, people are really, really wanting to get the bigger, better buck and are willing to do anything to get that money and willing to get that bigger paycheck. It doesn't matter. Greed does some weird things to people. Hate stems back to the people thinking that they are better than a person. That tends to be the most common hate that we see, is people hating on people because they're not like that person, or they're not like them, so they think that it's wrong to be like that, so they disregard them, they make fun of them, they blast them on social media. I think everyone's guilty of this and they can't deny it. Hate also finds a way into our government. Our primaries, our debates, our news about the government is full of hate. It's starting to be a political trend to throw dirt on your opponent or try to make them seem lesser than you, and it's just a constant battle between two people, and it just constantly, our society is just constantly in a fight, and it's just can never agree on one thing. And that I'm starting to lean towards being a conflict thinker because as I said, it seems to be that our society is always just tugging and pulling and pushing on each other, and then we never really can have a settled middle ground. It's just we're always in conflict. We're always pushing and budging on each other. I think that it's time to think like Charlie and use the democracy to unite. Like, we need to become a united country and not use our democracy against ourselves and use it as a leverage to produce hate, to try to rule one side better. And we need to start using it as to unite our community, unite our society, and become a bigger, better society and not continually be in conflict. I think Charlie is a conflict thinker because that's what I got from the video, was that he was comparing the society and how it's always in conflict, and there's always these obstacles, always there's bumps in the roads that cause conflict, and there's always something going on that's a conflict. And then another issue that Charlie talked about was the development of technology. The technology is slowly taking over our lives, and it in our jobs, in our daily lives, in our just everyday. One of them is that the jobs are being taken away from the people, and so it's starting causing people to be hateful toward the advancement of technology when the advancement of technology could really help us as a society. And another part of technology is phones. Phones are starting to advance, and you can be attached to social media, which social media is causing a false image, and people are posting their false images all over. And then people that are out there, they like see that and they want to be that, and then that's installing a hatred towards the people, because the people on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, all of that, it's they see that and they want to be that, and then they get angry at that person because they can't be them and they can't achieve that, and they have these false means of being rich and being skinny, and that's how you're supposed to be, that's how you're supposed to live your life. And it's just so that's just how our society is today. And then there's the sense of authority and following authority, and we've already talked about this, that people fall into that. And I think people, our congressmen, our executive branch, and all of that, they're starting to use their authority to their advantage and take advantage of the people. And I think that's why it causes more of a distress in the society, and they're starting to think our government's corrupt because they're using their authority to their advantage, and it's starting to just build this big combustion of people just thinking that our government's corrupt, that this is also causing our society to be in constant turmoil, and they're always fighting, and it's just all of that. And I think that this causes people to resist the government more and cause more issues. So I think it's time just to start thinking as a better whole, and just start containing these things and start working as a total unit.